This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Whether you're selling a little or a lot, Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. From the launch your online shop stage, all the way to the we just hit 1 million orders stage. No matter what stage you're in, Shopify's there to help you grow. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/special offer, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/special offer.
Today on CityCast Denver, for more than a century, Lakeside Amusement Park has been a mile-high summer essential, but the star attraction has been out of commission for 2 years. So we're putting together a game plan for the cyclone. Plus, we're talking about homelessness in Denver in the wake of the SCOTUS decision and sharing our Rocky Mountain highs and lows of the abbreviated holiday week. Today is Wednesday, July 3rd. I'm Paul Caroli, and here's what Denver's talking about. Welcome back to CityCast Denver, the show about the city that swears it is just as excited about celebrating the 4th of July with drones.
That has been it's like everybody's saying it, but they know it's not true.
It's like, yeah, drones, they're just as good. I like
no,
them.
They're not. They don't smell like fireworks. They don't sound like fireworks. They don't, let's be honest, they don't look like fireworks.
No, it's a completely different thing. The only thing that has in common is that it's in the sky and that it's maybe lit up.
And they can do some similar colors, but or
shapes, maybe.
There's not any of that the inconsistency about fireworks, kind of, that you like. I like anyway.
Can your fireworks make a QR code?
Ooh. Do a little online shopping at the show.
The exact opposite thing I want to be doing when I'm looking at the sky, looking at this weird thing we do that I've been doing for 200 years? I don't know.
I honestly...
thousands, I think, right?
True.
I've never been more curious about it. I've seen these drone shows pop up on the 4th last couple of years, but now that we're doing one here in Denver, tonight, as of this episode's release, July 3rd, downtown Denver, big drone show, the biggest ever, according to the people who are putting it on.
Where at?
Look,
I don't know.
is big.
I don't know.
This is big drone.
It's in the show notes.
You know what?
I'll put it in the show notes. I don't actually know.
Now I'm mad that Big Drone is taking out the family-owned fireworks, because most of the fireworks displays that are done by families, like family businesses do those.
Huh. Yeah, I don't know how the drone people got in here. It's like right place, right time or something when drone technology was hot and cool, like just as fireworks were going out of fashion.
Like most cool things, where was the laser people? Took it over.
Where were the laser people?
I mean, they were at the Sphere.
They were at the Laserium.
They're in the Sphere, crushing it, winning. Do you think Denver's going to get a Sphere? They say they want to put one everywhere.
Then what makes it unique?
Yeah.
You can go anywhere. I saw a meme the other day that was like, imagine going to Vegas, having the worst, most regretful night of your life, waking up to this, and it's the Sphere, and there's just a minion on the front of it staring at you.
Wake up, have a laugh. Those little guys so funny.
A minion, as my son calls them. Minions.
A minion?
Minions. He loves minions.
Bluey, great parents.
Aspirational parents on that show.
Let me get us back on track here. It's Wednesday, the Wednesday before a long holiday weekend. We are going to be off for the 4th of July. Back with you on Friday with something very new and exciting that we're trying at CityCast.
Oh, that's right.
I hope you all like it. I mean, let us know what you think. I thought it was fun. But we're here in the 5280 Magazine studios. You've heard their voices. Bree Davies, our host. Bree is here. Hey, Bree.
Hi.
Are you going to do fireworks, drones?
I'm like one of those. I love fireworks. And unfortunately, I won't be in my neighborhood for 4th of July, which is like Fireworks Central. Actually, it's just been going on. Fireworks season's like 3 to 4 months in my neighborhood. But we're going to be in LA. So hopefully we'll see some fireworks.
You'll probably see some fireworks.
Aren't fireworks a crime? Are people just committing 100% small crimes?
It is, fireworks are illegal.
Literally does not stop a single person, including may or may not be my family, also usually participating.
Where do you get them?
I used to drive to Wyoming.
Yeah. Or New Mexico.
Oh, yeah, we never do the New Mexico drive, but Wyoming.
You know, one 4th of July, Megan and I, my wife Megan, my lovely wife Megan, we were driving home from a camping trip in Black Canyon, the Gunnison.
Ooh,
lovely place to camp. But it was the night of 4th of July, and we were driving in down off of 285, and you could see the whole city lit up with fireworks just in each little neighborhood. I think I might go up to Lookout Mountain or something and try to get that experience again.
I love that.
Yeah, Silverton does a great fireworks show. Out in Durango, there's a lake just outside Lake Lemon or one of the ones, Lake Vallecito. That's what it is. Lake Vallecito. People get on boats and then like are on rafts and everything
nice.
to watch it over the lake. It's beautiful.
Nice. Very
Lots of
cool.
options.
Well, you've heard his voice as well. He's a returning guest, one of our favorites. He's a fireworks aficionado, one of Denver's most in-demand stand-up comedians. He's our man inside Casa Bonita.
That's right.
Joshua Emerson is back. Welcome back, Joshua.
Hi. Hello. Good morning. Yate Bennett. How y'all doing?
Hey.
Good to see you.
Little bit of business before we get into our top story today. Hey, we have a membership program.
We do.
It's the best way to support our show, keep us going strong for years to come. It's actually the number one way to support CityCast Denver. It's becoming a member. So if you rely on us for restaurant recommendations or to keep you in the know about who's got a fireworks show and who's got a drone show, not the location of that fireworks show, but a lot of other useful information. We do it every single day in our newsletter, Hey Denver, on the podcast you're listening to right now. If we helped you vote for DA, if we helped you pick your DA candidate that you liked a couple weeks ago, sign up right now at membership.citycast.fm/Denver. Plus, you get an ad-free podcast feed and special bonus episodes. We're going to start doing this a new thing like monthly, I think. Next month, we're going to do like for members, a little look behind the curtain.
Like behind the scenes or like just different episodes?
You'll see. Gotta sign up.
News to me as well, Joshua. So I'll let you know how that rolls out.
Very new. Very new. All right, let's get into our top story here today. For this abbreviated holiday weekend, one essential summer tradition that I have been looking forward to revisiting is going to Lakeside Amusement Park. But unfortunately, for the last 2 years, Lakeside's star attraction, the best roller coaster in the, technically not the city, but in the metro area, is the 116-year-old Cyclone roller coaster. It's been closed. It's still closed. And our friend Noelle Phillips of the Denver Post reported on why, featuring extensive quotes from our very own Bree Davies in the article. Bree, why is the Cyclone still closed?
Well, I have to say, when Noelle hit me up to talk about this, I was so nervous at what she was digging up and finding, because she had to make a Cora request to find the safety information and like what was behind this closure. And state regulators said that the park needed to be closed 2 summers ago. We're going on 3 summers of this. 2 people were injured in the last 2 years. One filed a lawsuit. That's the one that sort of made the news, but that's not the one that actually got the coaster shut down, according to Noelle's reporting. It was a woman who put her hands up when you're not supposed to and cut her palm, and that triggered an investigation by the state. So there were some safety issues that they're looking at. They're still working on those things, on getting it back up to code. But because people put their hands outside the car, which they tell you not to, and there's signs telling you not to. This is partially why it's closed.
But it's kind of a conundrum, right? Like this is what Noelle was reporting, because she said that the improvements that Lakeside had been committed to making, they've mostly made them, but there's this central issue with the design of the coaster itself.
It's like pre-safety regulations. It's hard to explain without making it sound super duper dangerous, which I don't think.
I mean, it sounds like it is.
I don't know. I've been riding it for 35 years or whatever, and
also the owner like test rides it herself too, as well.
Brenda or Rhoda, but yeah, it's like the current day standards don't meet this ride, and so they're between this balance of like, how do we retain this historic thing while also trying to make it as safe as possible.
Well, my understanding here is that the current day standards don't reflect the current culture of roller coaster riders, which is, I like to throw my hands up in the air. I like to sort of let my body go and enjoy the G-forces whipping me around.
Oh, yeah.
That's part of it. See, not everybody is like that, and there's different expectations for coasters.
I think you should be able to do that, but you should also be like, if you get your wrist, hurt, that's on you. Is that okay?
That's kind of the personal responsibility angle here is strong for me as well, Joshua. Like, don't do that.
Well, that is what the people at the Cyclone tell you, like the teens
multiple
who operate
times.
it. They will tell you, keep your hands and legs and stuff inside the car, because that's the design of the coaster, is that it cuts really tight around some of those corners, and if you put your hands out, you will get hurt.
Hit the track.
It happens.
Yeah.
So Lakeside's in this position where like, we can tell people not to do it, but they will keep doing it, and then we'll get sued, and we can't afford a lawsuit.
Also, the guy who did do the lawsuit, he wrote it 4 times, and it was like on the 4th time after like not following the rules all 4 times that he got hurt. You know what I mean? Like
it's just what are you trying to do?
Yeah.
Other
I mean-
than put a small family-owned business out of business?
Dude's trying to have a good time. That's how I'm riding the Cyclone too. That's the way to do it. If it ever opens up again, here's the tip. Go late at night when the crowds have died down, when the sun is down, and you can just keep going on the Cyclone over and over and over and over and over. Just one after. I once rode it, I think 10 times in a row.
10 times in a row.
Amazing.
Did you throw up at all? Did you get any motion
No,
sickness?
had a big smile on my face.
Great views.
Yeah, loved
Oh,
it.
beautiful. Scary views.
Joshua,
Beautiful
do you
views.
keep your hands and arms inside the car?
You know what? I follow instructions because I like my hands and my arms. So if they tell me not to put my hands out, I'm not going to do that. I was I didn't know that Lakeside was so old, 1908. That's the
Yeah.
same year that the Model T was introduced to, the market.
Isn't that crazy?
Very old. And then this is one of the only pre-World War II coasters out there. I learned this from the American Coasters Enthusiasts, which I think we got a couple right here.
Hell yeah. Proud card-carrying member.
No, I thought that was interesting too. Like that aspect of it is like it is very unique, not just the park itself, but this specific coaster.
Mm-hmm.
I had some frustrations
Go
with the
off.
family.
Go
I
off.
mean,
Talk about
I
it.
love the Krasner family, like who owns this. They do this beautiful thing by running this thing it's so complicated. And I think that comes across in Noel's reporting too. It's like they're trying to run something that Brenda, Rhoda's daughter, Rhoda's the owner, says in the story, like when a piece breaks of one of these rides, sometimes that piece has to be made to order because it doesn't
Just
exist
crazy.
anymore.
Yeah.
Or that they need specific types of operators who can run these older machines with these specific clutches because you can burn out the clutch really easy on the Ferris wheel. And she's like, we just don't have that knowledge anymore. Or the people that made the neon, that guy died. So they're trying to retain something while also meeting these modern standards. And it just feels like a push and pull a lot. But my frustration came from this. There was a lot of places where it seems like they could get some help. And they said no.
Yeah.
Last year, the American Coaster Enthusiasts brought their preservation director to Colorado to meet with the family to talk about the Cyclone's future and offer help financially or by putting her in touch with experts. And they said she, quote, never really got back to us. Then in 2021, Historic Denver included Lakeside in its 50 Actions for 50 Places. And Westward reported that Historic Denver tried to contact Krasner about the listing and never received a response. And then
That's so brutal. Okay, we'll talk about that in a second, actually. Go on.
and then her daughter says that they had considered applying for preservation grants, but researching how the programs work, she decided it was not an option for Lakeside, and she doesn't want to be encumbered by restrictions that grant recipients must follow, which I know can be a struggle sometimes with preservation projects, is like you can get the money, but you have to retain these elements, and then it puts the owner in a position where they can't do what they want to do. But the other thing was people have offered to volunteer. And I thought, she says, Brenda, the daughter that runs the park pretty much daily, said, while some grants could provide hundreds of thousands of dollars for renovations, the park owners would have to come up with matching money that they don't have. I'm sorry, that's what Noel said. So get one of these volunteers to run a capital campaign for you. People are offering to help. I bet that they have skill sets that could help you with these things that you say are a problem. And I think if you're going to save this community thing or make it better, you just kind of have to take people up on their offers for help. And I'm a little frustrated that they don't.
Yeah, you can't save people from themselves, whether it's them putting their hands out of the roller coaster or them holding too much control over the roller coaster,
Yeah. So Joshua, I want to hear your perspective on this a little bit more because Bree and I are
It's clear
we love Lakeside.
Yeah.
I mean, Bree especially. You feel a sense of ownership over this thing.
I
think.
do. I've spent my whole childhood, every summer I go there. I love it. I love it for what it is in the moment right now. I love it what it was 30 years ago. I love that it looks a little bit run down, but it's still this really beautiful thing that doesn't exist anywhere else in the city. Just perfect. But yeah, Joshua.
But yeah, from the outside, just given your sense of the city, do you feel like this is a public good, or is this just another business owner letting something get run down?
So I live in the neighborhood, and I take my dog to that
you
dog
do.
park over there, and so I appreciate that they've kept the views, seeing the mountains just right there. I as soon as I saw $5 entry and $1 popcorn, I'm like, well, I want to just experience what this is. And then I started reading more about it, and even some of the just the other rides, they're vintage. They're not anywhere else, not even at Elitch's or even there's only certain places in the country that you're going to see all these vintage
rides in one place.
And so it made me excited. I'm excited to go see it just to experience I don't know, like yesteryear. What it reminds me of a little bit is like, when you go to like Venice Beach or you go to like Fisherman's Wharf up in San Francisco, and they have those old sort of
the Penny Arcade at Fisherman's
exactly.
Wharf is very similar feelings. Yes.
Yeah, and so that's what I'm looking forward to, because there's just such cool amusement that is like mechanical almost, but it rings true because
the
they were
analog
good at
nature
it.
of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm excited to see that.
That's a good point. But I guess I think, Paul, what you're trying to get at too is like, do you feel like I can see the perception of walking into this city and being like, people care about this dump? Like,
I hear it from people all the time.
I've heard it my whole life.
Terrible, disgusting. Look at that dangerous, hunk of junk. Why don't they just build housing there?
Oh
Why don't they tear it down and build an apartment building?
That was my favorite in the subreddit. It was like, people
all right,
complaining about gentrification,
Yimbies,
but you don't want them to build housing. Listen,
not on friggin' 100-year-old amusement park with a landmark roller coaster. No, I don't. Sorry.
Also, there's like hundreds of empty parking lots in and around the area you could build housing. So calm down. But yes. Yeah, but do you see that? Do you see what these people see?
No, so I would disagree. I think that, like I said, it was opened in 1908, and this coaster's from 1940. You can't buy history. You know what I mean? That's one of the things you gotta, and that's where old Denver's culture, like these little things, we lose it a little bit every day, and so you have to keep some of the core memories. I mean, we're going to be losing Elitch's, and so what is going to be the next? Are they going to make another amusement park, or is Lakeside going to be the last part of it?
Well, and like you said, you can't recreate history. You can't rebuild that.
It's true.
Somewhere else. I mean, they kind of did that with Elitch's, but I also just think like. There's this conundrum with old Denver where we hold on really tightly to things and sometimes we don't let them grow or expand or evolve. And a lot of times it's the owner that's at fault. There's a couple other projects in this city I'm thinking of that I'm not going to call out because people will be mad at me, but like owners actually holding back the ability for something to evolve but continue to exist. And it feels a little bit from Noel's reporting that that's part of the problem. Not the whole problem, but it's a little bit of the problem.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It seems worth saving, but it seems like there is going to have to be a change in mentality in terms of like what is going to be going forward.
I have empathy for him too.
Oh, me too.
There was that part in the article where they were talking about like, there's this perception that like Lakeside is run down and it's not safe and it's not like maintained. And the owner or the owner's daughter was like, but that's what we do every day. Yeah. That's all we do. The light
bulbs, the grass, the flowers, the paint. Like, yeah, you can tell when they've repainted an area. And she says it in the article, you're right, constantly doing that stuff. And I agree, Paul. I want to give the Krasner family grace. I think that they are doing something very admirable. I just wish that they would accept some of the help because people truly care about the place that they own.
Well, let's talk about it. So that's what I wanted to get to here is we need to do a game plan because I think this article laid out the problem and we want Lakeside to survive. We want new people to move here and fall in love with it and not have it bulldozed and replaced by apartments. So what do we friggin' do, Bree?
I got a master plan, but I'd like to hear from both of you.
I mean, I think you have to get the American coasters enthusiasts involved, both in terms of like the expertise in parts as well as what type of grants would be specifically for the coasters. I think you have to get a volunteer program, both to maintenance and paint, but also capital campaigns. Those two things seem like the most obvious. Do you have anything else, Bree?
I mean, mine is like a very grandiose dream. Paul, what do you think?
No.
No,
please,
I want you
please.
to go because mine's going to – I have so many ideas. Go.
I feel like inevitably they have to rebuild the Cyclone. I think they have to tear it down and rebuild
start
it
over
and make it. I don't think it's start over. I think keep as much of the same design as you can, but it needs to be safe for people to stretch their hands out of it because that's what people do on roller coasters now. That is just simply a fact of the current culture of roller coasters.
What if they just strapped your hands down? You know what I mean? What if we did that?
I'd be okay with that as long as you don't. And this is another thing from the article that was just fascinating to me. But I never put my finger on why these old wooden coasters are special. But it's the single bar restraint versus the like shoulder straps holding you down.
Like which, race car
by the
strap.
Uh-huh.
Way, when I'm on the Mind Racer at Elitch's, I'm a tall guy. It's crunching me up in there.
Oh
that's like that's not a spine cruncher. Still love that coaster though. Number 3 in the city behind the Cyclone, Twister 3. Mind Eraser's number 3. What was I saying? Oh yeah, the bar. But the bar is special apparently because it's loose enough that when you go over the hills, you can have that brief moment of feeling the 0G. Yeah, of like having the breath get sucked out of your lungs. It was just a magical feeling, and it's pure fun. I love that. So that's what I think is inevitable. Is we probably got to rebuild that thing, and that's going to be really, really expensive. But that's just one piece. I want to hear the master plan, Brie.
I mean, first of all, curb appeal is a huge problem, right? Just driving by it does not look great. It's had some problems with facade, and there's the parking lot and stuff. But I think, to me, my dream is it's a public park. Becomes part of the park system.
Hell yes.
And then the rides will still exist to a certain extent. We probably get rid of some of them. Those could be operated separately, kind of like you could buy a ticket or a wristband if you wanted, but you could also walk the park from your house, Joshua, and just like come in any evening, have a picnic in the park. So that would be one part of it. The other part, I think, is bringing in local restaurants and businesses, because there's tons of restaurants within there that have been closed. There was like a supper club in there at one point. There was this giant restaurant. There's a theater in there. So bringing in like a Chubby's or an Illegal Pete's and stick it in one of those, or
I love that.
A couple different, a Snarf's, or just stick them into these various areas to make it sort of like that food hall thing as part of it. Reopen the theater, make it a sliding scale rental space for the community. So whether you're a large corporation that wants to throw your gala there, or you want to throw a wedding there or an event there, like events are huge in Denver.
That's true.
The money in there is huge. They have the space. It's just closed off right now. So like making it multi-use. Also the Speedway, fix it up and make it a venue. It's so easy. You can do movies there. You could do concerts there. Like that already exists. Just rebuild that infrastructure. And then again, there's a lot of parking lots. Noelle and I were kind of talking about this. Like, what if there was a small boutique hotel on site? People would come from all over the world to be able to say, I stayed at a vintage amusement park.
With beautiful views.
Yeah, with beautiful views. And they do talk about that in the article, is keeping the view. Like, how perfect would that be? And I mean, ideally, too, something that Lakeside did early on was if you look in the town of Lakeside, which is like 17 people population, there's a row of houses on Sheridan. Those were company-owned homes for employees. Put some employee co-op housing in there too. There's so much space, but just reimagining the space and also keeping some of the things that really matter, the Beaux-Arts architecture, just using what's there, but making it multifunctional in a way that more people would be attracted to coming to it. This is going to need something though that's like beyond the Matt and Trey Casa Bonita dream, right? Because investing in an amusement park is an insane proposition. So those are my grand dreams. I do
love that dream, though.
Those are my grand dreams.
I do love that dream. It sounds very expensive. I love the idea of a publicly owned roller coaster.
Yeah.
This is something I've advocated for years and years.
Also, what if they did free days like they do SCFD free days for the rides itself?
Yeah.
But the rest of the time, it's a park, and you could go there year round because the restaurants would be there year round.
Well, very expensive project. We're raising money.
If you got a couple billion.
Send your billions to the PO box. We don't actually have that. Don't send us anything. Send us emails and voicemails. We want to hear from you. What do you think about Lakeside? What should be done?
The future.
What could be done? What do you love about it? Leave us a voicemail. Send us a text at 720-500-5418. The Cyclone hotline is open at 720-500-5418. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back and talk about what the city is spending a whole boatload of money on right now.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Whether you're selling a little or a lot, Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. From the launch your online shop stage, all the way to the we just hit 1 million orders stage. No matter what stage you're in, Shopify's there to help you grow. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/special offer, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/special offer.
All right, we're back. So our hot topic this week is homelessness, because last Friday, the United States Supreme Court ruled 6-3 that Grants Pass, Oregon, and every other city in the country can continue enforcing bans on sleeping outside. This effectively provides a legal backing for what we know as sweeps. It lets Mayor Mike Johnston and our neighbors in Aurora and across the metro basically keep doing what they're doing. And they've been doing a lot. So that's what we're going to talk about. A few recent recent stories on this subject. Before we get into some of these specifics, though, Brie, I want to ask you about your thoughts on that Supreme Court decision.
Oh my God, what a huge bummer. It kind of reminds me of the quote, war on drugs. Like double down on what's not working and make it a moral failure to be unhoused and poor in this country, where housing costs have outpaced everything in every place in like this country. No one is immune. It is wild to me that this has continued to be treated as some sort of incompetence by a single person to not pull themselves up by their bootstraps or whatever. It's embarrassing to me, and it's frustrating because I just imagine what homelessness advocates are going through right now. It's what harm reductionists have to deal with every day too. It's just like, if shame, as Lisa Ravel says, if shame and stigma worked, we would have solved the problem by now. Like, And so what a bummer. This is how we view unhoused folks and people on the margins of society.
Joshua?
Yeah, homelessness is a context. It's one of those things where it could be mental illness, it could be addiction, it could be a whole host of things. Also, that you talked about it's their perceived incompetence or their perceived competence of buying a house in the '80s and then getting the benefit of the growth of Denver that increases your equity. You didn't do anything for that equity,
Right.
Yeah, my friggin' neighbor, he did that. He keeps telling me about this. $200,000 he bought this house for. God, this guy.
My parents bought their house in your neighborhood for $65,000, Paul.
Yeah. I've probably told this story before, but he's got a sign on his house above the garage door. It's got a picture of a gun on it, and it says "Wrong House."
What a cool guy.
Which,
very
I'm
friendly.
your neighbor, man. How do you look me in the eye after that? Is my house the right house? I hate this dude.
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, but that's a great point, Joshua, too, is then it's just like the luck of the draw.
Right.
I feel that way. I bought a house because I had family to help me. Some people don't have that, and that shouldn't be a qualifier for why you get to be housed.
All right, let's get into some of these specifics. So I think we should start with the question of money. I teased this before the break, but we do finally have an answer for how much Mayor Mike Johnston's all-in mile-high project is costing. To catch folks up, this has been his biggest priority since he came into office. He campaigned on this, a more empathetic approach to the unhoused crisis. He's still aiming to have moved 2,000 people into housing before the end of this year. The dashboard currently shows 1,623. And finally, as I said, the Denver Post has reported, we know how much this is costing the city. $57.5 million per year was the figure. Although there were a few figures in there. So, Brie, what do you think about these numbers?
Joe Rubino for the Post also reported that Denver's projecting it will have spent $154.8 million on the mayor's homelessness initiative by the end of this year. The city's annual budget's about $4 billion. I have to say, my problem is what we don't know. Mm-hmm. So we know that number, but how does that cost compare to what Hancock was spending in his time in the administration? How much is this about? So many of us were critical of Hancock's approach to homelessness. Is this the cost of doing the business we were hoping the city was doing? How does this compare to what we spend on other things like public safety or infrastructure? I have no idea, and I had a really hard time finding any of these numbers to compare or put this number into context. So I don't know if that's a lot of money.
It is
clue.
really hard to tell.
And then there's also things where it's 86% of the one-time costs, which make up a little bit more than half of the total costs, come from federal funds. So they're not really a part of
our regular budget.
Exactly. That they were these COVID leftovers that they then funneled into these programs. And so it's about $30,000 per person, which is compared to about $75,000 for an incarcerated person for the city of Denver.
Oh, is that true?
Yeah.
That's a good way. That's good context.
So just, you know what I mean? So just in terms of what's cheaper and what's better for the taxpayer, it does seem like this is the more economic decision. And so, and also the more humane one. But, if you're just looking dollars and cents.
If you're just looking at dollars, it's over half.
Right.
Wow.
For the record, I looked up how much a top-of-the-line, cutting-edge roller coaster costs these days. It's about $15 million. Just a point of comparison.
Oh, good.
No judgment attached to that. Just a number.
That's a drop in the bucket of our $4 billion budget. So I think you're well on your way, Paul.
What if we put housing in the roller coaster? You know what I mean?
On the roller coaster.
Not my host. How do you all feel about the mood in the city is right now around this issue?
Gosh.
because he gets swept into the office. People were like, yes, let's do this. Basically the same thing that Hancock was doing, but be nicer about it, was my sense of why Mike Johnston got elected.
I mean, 1,600 people is a lot of people, and how many of those are 536 are permanently housed? That's a lot of people. That's I would imagine is more than what Hancock was doing in 1 year. Just like, and those are people that now can contribute to the economy. They can sort of build their life again, and that's beautiful to me. You know what I mean? I think it makes Denver a better place. One thing about this is that the enforcement of the camping ban is up by 46%. So he's nicer in one way in terms of providing more housing options, but he is enforcing camping ban violations by a lot more. So.
And not all of those. Most of them, I think he was able to offer housing, but there have been a few notable exceptions. But that's what I've noticed on the street. Like, you walk around Lodo, you walk around like where the rescue mission is. There are not these mega camps that there were 2 years ago. It's a very visible difference downtown, I would say.
Yeah, downtown for sure. My neighborhood hasn't changed much either, but we have like pretty much the same population. It's smaller. We don't have big encampments, but I definitely have like regulars. But it's so hard to separate for me between the online conversations about the unhoused crisis and the reality of the unhoused crisis, how people talk about it online versus what we're experiencing every day. And it's so different to every individual. I don't know if it's gotten better. That's a great point. But
it's Paul, very hard to tell.
It is hard to tell. We're downtown though. We're downtown at least once a week, and it definitely does seem better. But I don't know. I'm not an unhoused person. I don't know what that experience is like in the real day-to-day of it. What they're really experiencing. So.
I know we are going to get some new polling data from the Colorado Polling Institute soon on this, so we'll know a little bit more about how people are feeling, I think, later in July, around the time when it starts to talk about Mayor Mike's 1 year in office. We're coming up on that milestone. That'll be interesting. Okay, let's move on to another big headline on this issue. I know all three of us have been following this project. The Denver Basic Income Project just recently, a couple weeks ago, reported their first year of results. If you're not familiar, this is a project started by a rich dude during the pandemic who was just giving money away. He was, I guess, getting a big windfall and had more than he needed. And he, admirably gave it away to people who needed it. But now he's built it out and he's got a lot of partners on board. The University of Denver, the city of Denver has pledged a couple $1 million, I think at least. And they have 1 year now of data. So what do we think about this data? Joshua, you want to take this one?
Yeah, absolutely. 807 participants. An economic project or economic experiment like this hasn't been done before. They had three different groups. The first group had $1,000 a month. The second group got a lump sum of $6,500 and then got $500 a month. And then the third group was a control group and got $50 a month. All groups experienced an increase in housing through the 10-month period. And then all groups, the first two groups that had an experience of an increase in employment, and the last group, the control group, actually decreased in employment over the 10-month period. And so there's a lot of conclusions. What do you guys think about it?
I mean, I think it's great in general. I just, the premise itself is amazing. I'm glad that we're trying it. I think that this has been a struggle for folks for a long time that are on the margins of society. Is like, I have a bill I need to take care of right now. Like my tire popped on my car. Now I can't get to work, or I have a medical bill. Just like very basic things that don't get covered by other government programs, or they're not making enough money, or it just seems like a no duh. And it seems like a really wonderful thing to be able to see people maybe thriving in this, while also giving them the autonomy to say, whatever you need to take care of, we trust that you can do that. Here's some support.
I mean, for me, it's always been with this project, the opportunity cost. Obviously a program like this is going to help people. You give someone $1, they'll have another $1 to spend on whatever the hell they want. That's great. And I think the results showed that, people had really good outcomes. We would expect them to have good outcomes. The question is whether or not this is a more effective use of public money than other ways, and all our officials here in Denver, they talk about housing first. That's the popular buzzword in this world right now, housing first, which means spending money on housing first before other things like support services or, say, cash first, which was what this program does. Like, we have good data from other cities that housing first works. Obviously, those are different contexts. So when I look at results like this, I think, is it more effective than those other things? And I don't know if they've demonstrated that yet. Pretty hard to do that, admittedly. The other side of this is maybe a little bit more heartening. I thought it was really interesting. Axios Denver pointed this out, that some of these folks in this program, supporting them in this way actually saved the city more money in other ways. By giving money up front, it means maybe we don't have to pay for like hospital bills, or like I remember Dr. Joshua Barakis made this point on our show about the warming centers in the winter, like how keeping warming centers open is an expense, but it's actually a lot cheaper than treating people for frostbite
through the ER, right?
Yeah. So in that way, this is pretty positive. Then the other thing about this program that's always kind of irked me is, like, everyone who supports it, they say this is a program to support the most vulnerable people in society, and that just seems to be factually inaccurate. They've picked people, they've screened people for drug use and stuff like that. Like they've got people who. They've got people and supported people who
they believe will perform well.
That's really
interesting.
A self-selected group, as we call it.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
So there's a lot of questions about this data. I mean, it's 1 year of data. It's fascinating. It's a really interesting report. We'll put a link to it in the show notes. But I'd like to see more.
I will say, it is a self-selected group, but they do have a control group versus, the lump sum and then the monthly thing. What was most interesting to me about it was how successful the lump sum group was. I mean, they were more housed compared to the other groups, and then a significant improvement in employment. And it's not a surprise, because you might be able, one person in the article, they bought a car and then they were able to do
go to
a lot
work.
More, exactly, go to work, could do a lot more gig work. And it holds true, like time value of money. Money's more valuable today than it is tomorrow. That holds true. The other thing is that when you have that lump sum, you're able to make decisions for the long term that are the most efficient.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so there's a famous economics paper about boots, and how when you buy really good quality, expensive boots that are going to last you longer than the cheap pair that you go through every 3 months, it's actually cheaper to buy the expensive boots versus the cheap boots every 3 months. And it's a better quality of life as well. And so I think that I mean, it's cool to see that like reinforced with a real world economics experience.
It is interesting. It is sure interesting.
It's also something that I think some of us take for granted when we aren't living paycheck to paycheck. Mm-hmm. Understanding what that lump sum would do when you're able, like you said, to take care of things in the moment and also anticipate some things versus just like a Band-Aid.
And we see it every year with tax refunds.
Oh, yeah. Great point. That's when that's when I take care of a big thing I've been putting off, or
One last recent story on this issue we should talk about. We don't talk about Aurora a lot, but Aurora's been doing something new on homelessness. Past CityCast Denver guest, Mayor of Aurora, Mike Kaufman, he's leading the rollout of a new, quote, tough love approach, which will include ticketing folks who violate Aurora's camping ban, which the Supreme Court has now said they're legally allowed to do. But it's also, they've eliminated the need for a 72-hour notice before sweeps and created something called a HART program. So that stands for Housing Employment Assistance Recovery Team, which diverts defendants charged with low-level misdemeanors to a new court, a special voluntary court, where defendants, if they choose this program, the court can connect them to resources and then ideally, hopefully, get their offenses, annulled. Which is kind of interesting, but I don't know. What do you think, Bree?
Why are we continuing to put people into that, encumbering them in this system to begin with by ticketing them and starting that process? It makes no sense to me. You want to make someone's life easier? Don't put them in the justice system, period. So that program, and also recovery, give me a break. No place in this state has adequate recovery services at the levels that we need them.
You got to spell it HART, though, So.
Yeah, you got to have the
R in there. Got that going for them. It spells HART.
Like someone on the street today who's in a crisis of fentanyl crisis can't just say, I want to go to recovery today. There is nowhere to take them. So I think it's baloney. I think Aurora's epic failure here.
tough love is the most boomer
It's
BS
thank you.
thing that I just cannot
never
stand.
worked.
Because it's policy based in emotion and not in data. And so it's ineffective because what's going to happen?
Judgment.
There's all the judgment and all this, but then there's going to be more incarcerated people. And like we said, it's more expensive to incarcerate a person than it is to provide them services and get them rapid rehousing and permanent housing, And so
why add this extra step that also can follow them for the rest of their lives?
the rest of their lives. Yeah.
Well, Mayor Mike Kaufman would say that it's all part of his work first approach as opposed to housing first or cash first, like we were talking about, which I don't. I
Because
mean,
you know what? I love to go to my job after I've been sleeping in my car all day. Thank you.
I mean,
Mayor
that's his
Mike.
thing. This guy is fascinating. The way he has thought this.
Oh,
I don't know. I'm sure
the
listeners are
cosplaying
thinking,
mayor.
a few years ago, he famously dressed up in his old army uniform and
So
some
offensive.
jackets and slept on the street for a couple days, and he thought he understood how homelessness worked after that.
Because you can dip in and out of homelessness just like for fun, like for a weekend. And that's definitely what people have been experiencing who've been on the street for years.
But the crazy thing about Mike Kaufman is he has done some work learning about this issue since then. It wasn't just that week. Like, he went on a delegation with Denver officials and some Aurora officials to Houston to learn about the Houston model in Houston.
I don't think he's trying to learn. I think he's trying to validate his biases by going on these things. Does that make sense?
I mean, yeah, perhaps that's
Also
where we've
just
ended
like
up.
showing, like, look, I did what you guys wanted me to. I saw it. Still doesn't work good.
Yeah, no, I think I got the right idea. We need to get these people a job.
What an absolute mess.
Well, let's leave it there. Kind of a bummer of a topic right now, although,
Womp womp.
again, the city looking more beautiful than ever. And
Yeah.
a lot of people have been moved into housing thanks to Mayor Mikey J. But we want to hear from you. Let us know what you think about the mayor's approach to homelessness or what Aurora's doing. Leave us a voicemail. Send us a text, 720-500-5418. Again, the All-In Mile High hotline is open at 720-500-5418. We're going to be back after one more break with our Rocky Mountain highs and lows of the week. All right, we're back. It's time for the best way to end the week, this short holiday week. It's July 4th tomorrow. It's time for our Rocky Mountain highs and lows of the week. Sometimes formerly known as wins and fails, but it's the Rocky Mountain highs and lows of
it's
the week.
controversial.
Apparently it is. I keep hearing from people that we should call it something else, but it's called the Rocky Mountain highs and lows of the week.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, people are mad about whatever.
I don't know. I don't know if they're
move on.
really mad. People like having an opinion. It's
That's
fun.
true.
And you're fine to do so. And I want to hear it on the CityCast Denver subreddit where some folks have been posting their own Rocky Mountain highs and lows of the week. I invite you to do the same. It's a very cool place to hang out. I'd love to talk to you about your Rocky Mountain highs and lows. But we're going to get into ours. It's time for fails first. Rocky Mountain lows first. Bree, yours?
Fail. Soul Tribe closed unexpectedly this week.
Oh.
And from their Instagram, it sounds like it was not by choice. They were planning a closure of the business and the store, and it happened much faster than they thought. But for folks that don't remember, Soul Tribe is a piercing and tattoo shop was on Broadway for 15 years, run by Alicia Cardenas, and she and a fellow artist there, Alyssa Maldonado, were murdered by a white supremacist in 2021 while working at the shop. Alyssa's husband, Jimmy, was also working that night and was wounded but survived. And I think it just, from what I read on their Instagram, like I said, they weren't anticipating closing this fast. So a lot of their artists have moved on to other spaces. So luckily, if you want to see the artists, the tattooists, or the piercers that you had been seeing at Soul Tribe, you can go to the Soul Tribe's Instagram and find out where your favorite people have gone. But it just kind of reminded me of this conversation that we had with Peter Boyles about the fact that there's no Alan Berg memorial here. And I kind of think that there should be an Alicia Cardenas mural, or a memorial, excuse me. And I think a lot of folks would also agree because she was just so influential in the community in terms of like the community work she did, but also the work around safety precautions for the industry and piercing and tattooing. She had been in the industry for over 2 decades, and she really helped nationally shape the safety and the way that these things go, and kind of brought a little bit of some of that integrity to an art form that's often thought of as like not safe. I don't know how to explain it, but she did a lot of things. At any rate, all that to say, it's a bummer that Soul Tribe had to close earlier than they wanted, and I would hope that the city would maybe remember her and her business at some point in some more impactful way.
Yeah, I saw this news. That's pretty hard. That's pretty hard news. I mean, knowing what
they went
this
through.
community went through a couple
Really
of years ago
brutal.
with that shooting, it was just a really tragic situation. I know a couple of people who were close to that, close to the folks who worked there. It was just.
I had some friends that were there that day getting work done, and I know that they felt that. I don't even know how to explain the feeling you have when something happens after you've left, but it just it's been reverberating since that happened, and I think that there should be some way to memorialize it because now the business is going to be gone, and that was a place where people went to also sort of be with their feelings and the people that they missed. So, Paul, what about you?
Well, I hate to yuck people's yum here, but I'm gonna. My Rocky Mountain low this week is that monolith that someone put up in Larimer County on that farmland.
The dairy farm.
And like everyone online was like, oh, it's aliens. Oh, who did this? What a mystery. And it's like, is it a mystery? Some people put it up.
Excuse me, Paul, did you not read the next story that employees at Red Rock saw it's a spaceship this week?
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah. A spaceship that happened to, the way they described it looked identical to the spaceships in movies that we've all watched 100 times. I'm just like, come on.
Where's your sense of fantasy?
I don't have
it this week. I know, for a guy that loves Dune this much.
Yeah, I'm sorry it wasn't a sandworm. You know?
If there was a sandworm in Larimer County, I'd be up there. I'd be up there with my little sand thumper thing and my hooks. I'd be riding that sucker.
So what's exactly your beef with the monolith, Paul? What's your problem?
It's like, it's boring. It's art, right? It's like, there's better art.
I honestly thought it was a Black Cube museum, nomadic museum installation.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, but they make it very clear when that's happening.
I mean, sometimes you can do cool, like, land art. There was that piece down in the San Luis Valley. It was very interesting a couple years ago. Like, this is the whole thing about it is like, oh, it's the mystery of the monolith.
Are you more annoyed that people were covering, like, that there was a lot of news coverage of it?
Maybe.
This is my impression of Paul in Vacation in Cairo. It's boring.
These pyramids.
Wonders of the world.
Who cares? No, the monolith, this is no wonder of the world. This is like 2 or 3 people putting up this thing in the middle of the night.
That's fun. All right, that's a couple pranksters having a little bit of fun. And if you can't have a little bit of fun.
Someone hates crop circles.
I know. I put so much work into that monolith for you, Paul.
For me.
Yeah. And
if you even went to go look at it, Paul, maybe you would know.
I should go look at it. I guess I don't want to, like I said, don't want to yuck people's yum. It was just like, ugh.
It runs off on an electric bike.
Do you like it now?
Joshua, what's your Rocky Mountain low of the week?
Oh, Esquire is closing. 97 years. They just did the Rocky Mountain Horror Picture Show. They do the shadow cast there. They've been doing it there for forever, and it sells out every time. They just did the funeral show for it.
There were some really sweet pictures of folks celebrating that Rocky Horror, I thought.
Yeah, and Rocky, they're still going to be doing Shadowcast other places, but it's like they had a really strong relationship with the Esquire, and some of my friends at Casa, they're also in the Shadowcast as well. So like that's how I feel personally connected to it. It's just I like growth in general. I hope they keep the sign, and I like the best business to survive. But 97 years, like I said, you can't buy history. And it was 3 years away from 100 years. And I don't know why that matters to me, but it's just, it's sad, you know? But, you know, hopefully something good comes out of it. I think it's like mixed use, retail and office. And so hopefully some cool businesses move in.
But you can't make up for like the homemade signage that they would make for the movies. They would build out these like sort of elaborate displays in the windows. I'll never forget the train spotting one when I was in high school, and it was a toilet with feet coming out of it because there's a part where he dives into the dirtiest, most disgusting toilet in Scotland. But it was just like burned into my memory that somebody came up with that and put it in the window. But yeah, I feel you. The people behind it. To me, it's the people. I had friends that work there too, and the community, obviously, that grew around Rocky Horror in particular, but other midnight movies too. At that space, but hopefully they find a new location. I know it's not the same, but
there's other spaces that like that some like where movie lovers can come to, like this is a great theater. We can watch, you know, old movies still, you know. But
we got the Mayan.
Mayan.
I'm going to check out the Chez Artistes this weekend. I got that on my schedule. I never actually been there, but yeah. Have you been to Chez Artistes? It's another landmark spot.
It
Been to
is
the Mine. I like the Mine.
architecturally
Mine,
not memorable.
killer.
It's in a strip mall, but they have great programming.
I wanted to point one thing. I wrote up this Esquire news for our newsletter, Hey Denver, daily local newsletter. You should check it out if you haven't already. But the last movie that they're showing at the Esquire is going to be 2001: A Space Odyssey,
That's good.
which is
Oh.
interesting
Beautiful.
because it is about a monolith that marks the changing of eras in history.
Very smart.
And I bet there's a hell of a lot more people up in Larimer County looking at that new monolith than are going to be in that theater.
Maybe
Just saying,
come
I
on
don't know.
down.
I don't know what the meaning is of that, but it's two monoliths. It feels important to me.
What do you think about the end of 2001: A Space Odyssey? What do you think it means?
The end? God, what was the end?
I've never
Remind
seen
me.
it. I have
Remind
no
me
idea. I
the
don't
end.
watch movies.
It's in a
seen
bedroom.
it?
She would
No.
hate it. You don't see it.
I don't
In
like
fact,
this stuff.
continue on.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
not for
Thank
you,
you, Paul.
at all. Although you
You're
loved
correct.
Barbie, which has the start of it, which is a play off of
Yeah.
2001.
I mean,
Worked without it.
yeah, I was like, I have a
Worked
lot of
without it.
feelings about Barbie
The
itself.
score is great. There's a great villain in it, and then it ends in this super weird existential way,
It's the bedroom, right? Where there's like the monolith shows up in the.
and he becomes a baby.
Yeah. It's a cool movie. Really cool movie. I might see
Kubrick
that
is
at
one
the
of my
Esquire.
favorite directors. I didn't,
Yeah, I was like, this is a Kubrick film, right?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, we watched Full Metal Jacket before I went to boot camp. Me and my dad.
Oh, what a nice
Jeez
thing
Louise.
to watch. Wow.
Brutal.
Wow.
Yeah, and I went to Paris
Then you
Island. I was
watched-
going to Paris Island.
Oh my God.
Jeez, this feels like a hazing.
Yeah, my dad hazed me.
Oh, dads.
Yeah. I mean, he was in the Marine Corps too, so as is his right, you know. So
I guess so.
I mean, I watched Blue Velvet when I was 7. Not a great choice. Thanks, Dad.
All right. Time for Rocky Mountain Highs, our wins of the week. Joshua.
oh my God, am I in trouble?
You get to start.
Joshua, it's your turn.
This is the first time that we've had a double MVP in the NBA and in the NHL. We got Jokic, we got McKinnon, and that I know like the playoffs.
It's
happen.
bittersweet without the playoffs.
You just gotta celebrate that. It's
Yes.
history. When you look back, that is so cool to have people at the top of the game, literally the top of the game, both playing in Ball Arena. You can see them night to night. I love it so much. And they're so good. If you watch McKinnon, I know you don't like him, Paul, but like his like effectiveness and just
Did I
Dang.
confess that?
Yeah.
At one point,
Paul,
Did I just-
putting Paul on Front Street.
I'm a fan of the team. Not all the players that play in a way that's compelling to me. As a hockey lifer, you know, some of the other teams, they got a more interesting style. McKinnon, you got to give it up for his work ethic. And I mean, he's a very talented dude.
His skill is
I
amazing.
mean, he's got a little dog in him.
And and then Jokic, oh my gosh, he is the most fun player to watch in the
best.
NBA. Just that little toddler boy, just being able to pass all
That
across the court.
massive toddler. This softens the blow a little bit of us losing KCP. So
Yeah, you got the
thank
best
for
players. You got the best player in the NBA.
Thank you for
playing
reminding me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good win.
How about I'll go next?
Go, Paul.
So I was looking for something else to talk about here this week, but because I don't want to be this guy. But this is a win, and like my favorite restaurant doesn't get a lot of good press these days. Ever since the E. coli scandal a few years ago,
Chipotle.
which
Yeah.
again, nobody died. Nobody
You
died.
sound like me defending Lakeside.
I don't know. Illegal
Nobody
pizza's better.
died.
Illegal Pete's has a lot of debt to pay to Chipotle for being the front runner here, the trendsetter. But anyway, Chipotle got some good press. You might not think it's good, but I think it's cool. There's this new thing called Chipotle Boys. Have you heard of this?
What?
It's like
Is this a podcast?
No, it's a thing that I think is a real thing that's happening because like the last few months of Chipotle news has all been skimpflation, like portion sizes too small, what company falling apart, food prices too high, quantities too low. But Chipotle Boys are it's like finance bros who go to the gym a lot who apparently love
no.
Chipotle. They go
Yeah.
like 5-6 times a week, get double protein.
It's the protein, baby.
And now the company is embracing it. And if you go on the Chipotle app, which is excellent, there's a special like a promotion for you can get your little Chipotle Boys a meal. You can get a double chicken bowl or whatever, and like you get special rewards in the app.
If we get 1,000 subscribers to the CityCast membership, I will get Chipotle Boys tattooed on my belly right here.
Hell yes, membership.citycast.fm.
I don't know if you're going to do that. I think Paul has to do it. Too.
Oh, yeah.
You don't have any tattoos, huh, Paul?
No.
Just like Tupac, you know what I mean? Like right there.
Chipotle boys?
Chipotle boys.
Boy, I don't know.
I'm gonna have to look at this. I might,
1,000.
you know what? Maybe we should get Chipotle for lunch since it's just you and me today, Paul.
Sure.
None of our other girls aren't here. So.
This location is they're hit or miss.
They really are, to be honest with you. The
a-
16th Street Mall, sometimes it's a real doozy what you get. Ooh.
Sometimes it's great though.
Yeah, and Illegal Pizza is right next to it, so I end up going to Illegal Pizza anyways.
You're right. Just down the way.
I like both.
I like both too. Yeah.
All right, Bree, what's your Rocky Mountain high of the week?
Mine's also a restaurant. Dozens reopened in its new location at 14th and Tremont. I can finally get my DTC with an English muffin, some amazing bacon and apple butter. I am sad that the creaky, like Victorian hardwood floors and the super 80s interior will be gone. But we talked to Molly Martin earlier this week, and she said that she was promised that the interior of the new place is equally as dozensy.
That's Westward food editor Molly Martin.
Yes.
So if anyone knows, she knows.
Yeah, she wrote about it actually for Westward. They're reopening, and she gave me some tips on parking down there. So I'm going to go check it out. I am so excited.
Care to share those tips?
Nope, absolutely not. Those are mine, close to my vest. I'm sorry.
Part of Bree's collection of secret parking spots throughout the city.
I do have a collection of them.
Like Pokemon cards.
Exactly. And I don't share them with anyone. But
I love Dozens. I'm glad it's back.
I do too. It's my favorite breakfast restaurant, hands down, is Dozens. So,
I've never been. I'm going to go now.
Oh, it's so.
And I'm going to steal your parking spot.
The thing I remember loving about it though was like it was affordable and like humble. Like it was just simple, good quality food for a good price.
Their hash browns are good.
I wonder if it's still.
I bet it's going to be the same, honestly. Food-wise, I'm hoping. They make scrambled eggs exactly how I like them. You get a French press of coffee. The servers are all very sweet. The bussers are all super sweet. I'm excited. So Dozens is back.
Dozens is back.
The old building, not so much. I wish they would just tear it down. It's really sad. It's just half burnt down.
Is it still there?
Yes, it is. Just across from Pines Pub.
There's a parking tip for you. That lot, the Dozens lot.
I know. I showed you that, Paul.
Okay.
That was
one
of my secret spots.
One of Bree's spots revealed, the Dozens parking lot.
The old Dozens parking lot.
If you get busted, please don't call us.
Not my fault.
All right, here we are, end of the show.
That's right.
Congratulations. Thank you all for doing this with me.
You
Bree,
did it.
Joshua, we all did it together. But Joshua, you have a plug. What do you got coming up?
Yeah, so it premieres July 2nd at the Denver Art Museum. It's called Knowing You Denver with Stephen Yazzie and Gabe. So I'm an actor in it with my friend Jeff Stonick. We're at the Denver Art Museum, and we like improv'd a lot of it. But basically, it's like an experimental documentary that it's like there's like a lot that went into it. Like he did like focus groups and like just people writing in stuff with these different prompts about what makes up Denver and its culture. I'm really excited to see. I don't even know what it is. So I'm really excited to see it tonight. Y'all should stop by. It's like there for like 3 months. Yeah. So
it'll be on view because it open tonight or tomorrow?
It opens up July 2nd.
July 2nd.
So today.
Okay.
Yeah,
so when you're hearing this, it's open.
It's been open.
Exactly. Come see it.
And it runs for 3 months. Awesome.
So improvised documentary.
Yeah,
about Denver.
Yeah, and then the focus groups, they had a researcher go through and take specific quotes, and she made poems out of all of them. So there's 4 different poems, 4 different scenes.
Oh, cool.
And it's supposed to be like one day in Denver. So it starts with sunrise and goes to sunset. And then there are 4.
Sounds amazing.
And so there's a lot there to like. You know what I mean? I was excited to be a part of it. I don't know. There was one take where he was like, "What if you guys just got in a fight?" Yeah, and so
just start fighting.
Right, and so it's like, well, we have to clear it with security. So we got the security guard over there, and the security guard was watching us, and then we were like improvising.
So you haven't seen.
I haven't seen the cut.
You
I
haven't seen the final
at
cut.
all. Yeah. So
all right. So check it out.
Yeah,
Some maybe potentially embarrassing footage for
Denver
Joshua in this documentary. Could be interesting.
Sounds awesome.
That does sound really cool. Bree, do you want to talk about our event? A little plug for us.
Oh yeah, we're doing the Colfax Indie Bash in a couple weeks at Flora House.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a bed and breakfast right in the heart of Capitol Hill, right off of Colfax. We're going to be hosting a live podcast with a special guest.
Should we reveal our guest?
I mean, I've been waiting for you to do.
I think it's ready.
We got our
Nicolas Cage,
our pal, our pal Mayor Mikey J. Mike Johnson's going to join us. We're going to be talking about, I think, past, present, and future of Colfax. Just all kinds of stuff Colfax related. Again, this is the Colfax Indie Bash we're doing with the Colfax Business Improvement District. And it's an event that we've done before. We love working with them. It's a celebration of my favorite street in the whole city, and we always have a good time. So you can get tickets now. We'll put a link in the show notes. I think it's free, but you need to RSVP. And we'd love to see you out there. We'd love to meet you. We'd love to talk to you. So RSVP and come down and see us and hang out.
July 18th. Save the date.
July
RSVP.
18th.
Link in the show notes. Joshua, Bree, thanks so much for doing the show with me today.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
See you next week. That's all for today here on CityCast Denver. Our producers this week were me, Paul Caroli, and Olivia Jewel Love. Peyton Garcia writes our morning newsletter, Hey Denver. Bree Davies is our host. Our music is by Los Mocochetes, with additional mixing by Tyler Lindgren. If you haven't already, subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on Instagram at CityCast Denver, and tell Rhoda Krasner about us the next time you see her. You can sign up for that daily newsletter I mentioned and learn more about us at denver.citycast.fm. Great, cool. Great.
Paul's
This is Paul's ASMR.
I know, yeah.
I'm trying to stay loose, and it's working.